family or a friend and we have not met yet, my name is Tripp Gulledge, and it has been my honor and privilege to be a part of this Wesley Fellowship for the last 5 years and serve it as the president this year. So it's been awesome, and I'm super glad to be with you. Just a couple of logistical things. For any of you to whom this is new information, I'm not able to see, and so I use a lot of technology that talks. So if I may ask, please, if you could try your best to refrain from talking on your microphone, unless it's your turn in the order, or sending messages in the chat, because then my phone is blabbering to me, my computer is blabbering to me as I'm trying to read, and so, or as I'm trying to read or listen or make these things happen. So those would be my very humble requests, so that we can try and keep this thing moving along. As you will hear some in my reflection in a little bit, one of the biggest things that I've learned is that things are not always going to go as you planned. Things are not always going to be perfect. And so despite my best efforts to have a fail-safe plan for sharing my reflections and being with you, I can't get videos to upload, and so we're going to wing it. But here we are, the Auburn Wesley winging it, folks. And so it is my joy to be with you to celebrate this year. So we're going to go ahead and get started in a moment. What you've got in store for this evening is we're going to highlight the leadership team from this year, recognize those who are coming in to serve next year on the council. We'll have a slideshow with some of our highlights. We'll recognize a few students who are going to receive some awards. And then I will have the opportunity to share a reflection with you. So I'm very glad that all of you are here, and I'm thankful for the people who will join in a moment. So with all those things said, let's center ourselves in a moment of prayer. Gracious God, thank you so much for the gift of fellowship and all the things that that entails, being together, studying your word, being together in worship of you, being sent in mission, reaching out to those who are coming to know you more, and just being together, no matter what those means. God, as we look to close this chapter, this 2019-2020 school year, God, show us the beauty in the endings and show us the beauty that is yet present in these days, in spite of the strange circumstances and the difficulty of letting go. God, bless this time, and may it be one that brings glory to you. And we ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen. So again, I'm really glad that each of you are here. And the first thing we will do this evening is recognize those who have been on leadership this year. So I'm Tripp, and it has been my privilege to be the student council president. And what that means is that I chair the student council, which is made up of 5 other persons. They chair our 5 ministry areas. We have a 5-fold purpose of here at the Wesley Foundation of all the things that we believe God has placed us on the Auburn campus to do. That's receiving people and worshiping together, having fellowship, being equipped for discipleship, and being sent for mission. So I am super thankful for the 5 persons who've served on council with me and for the teams that they have led, as well as the FreshCom staff and the team that they have led. So I'm going to pass the floor over to Hannah to get it started, and she will tell you about the outreach area and introduce their teams, and we'll just go on forward in the components of the purpose that we have. So Hannah, take it away.
Hello, everybody. Well, nice to see all your faces. If you were on the outreach team this year, just wave so that people can see in the little boxes who's who. Okay, cool. Well, so this year, I had the pleasure of being the outreach chair, and so it was a big team this year. It was really awesome. We had 2 media specialists, Anna and Dylan. They did a lot of our online reaching out and advertisement and logos, and then we had our CMIST men, Robert, Kelly, and also Tanner. Those men really organized all of our information to make sure that we can keep up with one another. And then we had outreach specialists. So we had Jeck and Cheyenne. They did a lot of utility work, basically anywhere that was a need, like hospitality or on-campus stuff, partying, well, not partying, I'll call it socials, all of those fun things. They helped plan and organize that as well. And so that is the outreach team of this past year.
Hey y'all, my name is Davis. I was the worship chair this year. And so unlike Hannah, the worship team, we kind of have one job on that team, and that's the worship planning team. And so we work every single week, and we work with Tony. And so the people that were on that team, it changed a little bit throughout the year. But throughout the whole year, we had Kevin Pate, we've had Savannah Cothran, Robbie Mountain, we had Carly Burrell, and we had Haley Stone. And so those are the people that help serve as part of the worship planning team this year. And Haley Stone is actually going on to be the worship chair next year. But those are all the people that served as part of the worship team this year.
Hi, friends. My name is Kate. I was the fellowship chair this year, and I had a really big and really incredible team. So first, I'd like to recognize Matthew Castleberry, yay, who was our our tech manager this year, which really means that if it was broken, he fixed it. And if I didn't know how to work it, he did. And I don't know how to work anything, so he did everything. And then next we had Becca, who was in charge of making sure that our check during T&D, or Thursday night dinner, ran smoothly. But she was also in charge of keeping us all sane, because we had crazy things go wrong, and she was always just kind of there to fix it, like bringing 5 pounds of mac and cheese one time. Let's never forget that. We had Carson, who was in charge of our special events, such as the awesome ski trip that we went on. He planned all of that. And speaking of events, we can't forget Amanda Bowden, who was our social events manager this year, who made Coffee House and all of our other socials possible, who is also going to be our fellowship chair next year. And then we have Josh, who was an incredible intramural sports coordinator who could beat everyone at any sport. But lastly, I'd like to recognize our Thursday night dinner meal coordinators who worked super, super hard all year. And they were Taylor and Mason and Molly, who are all incredible people that made Thursday night dinners possible. And I couldn't have done this year without you guys, and I am so glad I got to be on your team.
Hey y'all, I'm Sarah Lothar. I served as the discipleship chair this year. We had a wonderful team of 5 people, and that consisted of Ben Gorley, who served as our small group coordinator. He was in charge of all the D groups that went so well this year. He did a really good job coordinating those and making sure that David and Tony had some good curriculum for them. He did a wonderful job. We also had Jalen Kutchins, who was in charge of spiritual formation. He did a great job putting together Lent Devos for that wonderful Lent season that we had this year. He also just coordinated a different curriculum for different prayer practices and meditations that we tried to focus on this year. Gabriella Shovarelli, she was our Bible study coordinator. She made sure that after the wonderful dinner we had on Thursday nights, everyone had Bible studies to go to, which were wonderful, led by everyone in this fellowship. We had Kayla Beth Smith, who was one of our prayer breakfast co-coordinators, who also helped out our other prayer breakfast co-coordinator, Sarah Jane Thompson. They were a dynamic duo and put on wonderful prayer breakfasts every Wednesday morning, got up at the crack of dawn to cook them, and make sure that we had a wonderful Devo from another one of the people in the fellowship every year. And Sarah Jane Thompson, I'm so happy to say, will be our new discipleship chair next year.
Hey everybody, my name is Corey Burgess, and I had the pleasure of being the missions chair this past year. And on my team, I had Anthony Furno, and he was over our Super Mission Saturday and all of our local missions. So he helped coordinate all of our different things with Alabama Rural Ministry and doing local home repair and other things like work weeks and things like that in the shack outside of Wesley. And then I also had Natalie McPhee, and she was over our SWAT team, which we renamed SWAP, and it stands for Service with a Purpose. And so she had a team of about 10 people that were present at missions events, and she just helped with our participation in missions. And then I also had Lindsay Baird, and she was over our mission trips. So she worked super, super hard with me on coordinating our mission trip to the Bahamas and Tanzania Tanzania, but unfortunately they didn't make. So we put in a lot of hard work for nothing, but it's okay because she was awesome and kept me sane. And then we also had Caroline Massey and Caroline Deck. Caroline Massey was first semester, Caroline Deck was second semester, and Emma Rower for food pantry. So they help coordinate all of our food pantry needs, which is a really big job out at Lochapoka UMC. And Emma will be our next missions chair. And then the last person is Megan Kuchera, and she was over all of our mission partnerships. So she helped me reach out to people like AUMC and UMCOR and develop partnerships where we could serve them as well.
And FreshCom, I'm Bo. I'm one of the ministry interns from this past year, and the other one is
Katie. Hey guys, I'm the other
That's
ministry.
right. We did a lot for FreshCom this year, a lot of events. Among them was the Taco Olympics, which everyone worked really hard to put together. It was a night of games all based around the taco. Katie, what was your favorite event?
My event, very similar, was the Pumpkin Olympics. You know, the Olympics aren't happening this summer, but for us, they happened twice last fall. And so Pumpkin Olympics was definitely one that stood out for me.
That's right. We had a great group of leaders this year. Katie and I were the interns, and then we had student leaders, 6 of them. Kevin Towers was one. There he is.
Caroline McCauley, not here tonight.
Carson Stratton.
We had AJ Stanley.
Taylor Vaughn.
And Reese Bordeaux.
Wow. And that's a great group of people.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you, everybody. So yes, a wonderful group of people indeed. And from that team of FreshCom leaders, Miss Taylor Vaughn will follow me as the Wesley president for next year. And so I'm very, very grateful for the leadership teams that you just heard about, for their council chairs, for keeping this place going. We could not be who we are without the dedicated leadership of students. And so it will be my privilege to hand this office over to Taylor Vaughn at the end of finals week. And I have every bit of confidence that she will be an incredible president to that student council and to each of the women that she will lead who will be chairpersons next year. So we commend you and we wish you the best. We thank the staff and the board for the opportunity to be leaders in this way. And we wish well to those who will follow us. I will offer the floor over to Tony and David now, and they're going to tell you a little bit about 2 special awards that we will offer to students in celebration of this year.
Hello. So we have 2 awards. I'm going to handle the first, and then I'll toss it over to David for the second one. The award that I'll be presenting is the Rookie of the Year Award. And so the Rookie of the Year is given each year to an outstanding first-year student, either a freshman or a transfer that's due to Auburn, who has gotten really involved both in the life and ministry of the Wesley Foundation, and who in doing so has exemplified Christian faith and character. And so I have here's the award. I want to present this year, the Rookie of the Year is Emma Shirley. Yay, Emma. So here, you get this. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Emma. I'm up. Y'all can hear me, correct? The second award that we'll do tonight is named after Dr. Joe Yeager. He was a faculty person at the university over in Ag Econ and was our chair years ago. And it's called the Diaconia Award. And that's the service award representing the heart of Christ. And this year's recipient is Katie Corbin. So congratulations, Katie. Congratulations. I don't have here you can have Sarah's phone. Here we go. Good job. Congratulations to both of you. Back to you, Tripp.
Thank you. Congratulations, Emma, and congratulations, Katie. I'm proud of and thankful for you guys. So at this time, we're going to celebrate just some program highlights. So Mr. Matthew Castleberry will show us a slideshow produced by Patricia and Anna in the Alumni Development Department. So take it away, Matthew.
Jesus in this place. The light of the world, shining in love, and taking the fall upon your shoulders. You shattered the dark as you rose to life again. You search all the earth for those who were lost, and leaving the rescue for the fallen. You're leading us home as we call upon your name. You're the God who saves. You're the hope of all. Reaching out your hand as your people call. A Savior has come, that your will be done. Your kingdom on earth is in the heavens. Our freedom is found, Lord, in no other name. You are the way, the truth, and the life. Your mercy has overcome our failing. The battle is won. Jesus, in love you reign. You're the God who saves. You're the hope of all. Reaching out your hand as your people call. You're the God who saves. You're the hope of all. Reaching out your hand as your people call. Hearing your light ever brighter, we lift your name higher and higher. Hearing your light ever brighter, we lift your name higher and higher. Hearing your light ever brighter, we lift your name higher and higher. Hearing your light ever brighter, we lift your name higher and higher. Come on, lift a shout of praise in this place. You're the God who saves. You're the hope of all. Reaching out your hand as your people call. You're the God who saves. You're the hope of all. Reaching out your hand as your people
Awesome. Thanks. I'm sad we lost audio, but I hope that you guys enjoyed being able to see some highlights of all the things that have gone on. The last major component of this evening is to move to a brief time of worship. And so in that, I'll offer a bit of a sermon style reflection on the year. And I would invite us to pray together. And then we have one more video to watch to offer a sort of benediction. So let's have a prayer as we move into that time. God, I thank you for the message that you have offered me, the wisdom that I am continuing to learn from your word as I studied it and tried to find the right things to say. God, I pray that the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts would be pleasing to you. God, speak through me, in spite of me and in spite of the complications of the circumstance. God, be with us now, and may my words and our being together honor you. Amen. The preacher writes in Ecclesiastes that the end of a thing is better than its beginning. And he continues later, don't say, why is it that the former days were better than these? Because it isn't wise to ask these questions. And as I come to the end of this year, those things are really hard for me to swallow. I believe in the Holy Scriptures, but some of them are hard to live out, hard to follow, hard to say, ah, yes. And for me, these two verses in much of the book of Ecclesiastes would be those scriptures, the ones that I just think, how on earth is it that ending a thing could be better than beginning it? Why can I not celebrate the former days? Why can't I think that sometimes they were better? We've had 4 family and friends celebrations since I've been here that were in person. Why can't I say they were better than family and friends on Zoom? And so my seeking to understand this, my asking this question, why, Lord, preacher who wrote these words, why is it that the end is better than the beginning? And why can't I ask about the former days? My attempt to answer that is what I want to share with you. I've thought for a long, long time about what it is that I could share with this community in my last time being with them. And if you know me well, you wouldn't be surprised that I put a lot of pressure on myself to say the perfect thing, to give the perfect sermon. And I know that's not what it's about, but I'm a high pressure kind of guy. And I just pray that in the things that I would say in the next few minutes, that God would receive all the glory for the many things that God has done through me and through this fellowship. And I pray that you would conclude my message knowing the immense gratitude that I have for this place and the people who make it what it is. So I think there are 2 components to the knowledge I'm trying to learn, trying so hard to learn. One is the end of the beginning is, the end of the thing is better than the beginning, because at the end, you start to understand the way things were supposed to be, while at the beginning, you're just so consumed with trying to make them how you want them to be. And the other component, that we shouldn't ask why the former days were better than these, because only in the present day can we see the work that God has been doing since those former days. And so I want to just expound on those things a little bit in the next few minutes. So when I was elected and my peers were elected to these positions last year, I started planning immediately. And I'm sure that this surprises no one. I planned and I planned and I planned. I was so anxious to do more things to prove to this council and the team that would surround us that I was a leader, that I could do the things they needed me to do. And as I was constantly reminded to slow down, and as I watched things happen not quite how I thought they would happen, I was reminded that this role, this being in leadership and God's plan for this thing wasn't so much about me doing until I had proven myself, but rather it was about me just being the person that God was making me to be, and being there for this fellowship and in the midst of all the things that it would undergo. So I unfortunately missed my first opportunity to have fellowship with this council. I was not able to go on the retreat that we would have gone on because I was a delegate to the United Methodist General Conference last year. But naturally, I spent my entire plane ride to St. Louis planning, writing down how I could make this place more perfect. How could I perfect and reform this thing? Because that's my MO, to ask, what additions can we make? What systems can we set in place? How can we make sure things are clear so that this place runs in ship shape? How can we make this thing work? Then I spent the next 3 days writing an email, because of course I did. It's my love language, the email is. And she was a thing of beauty. It was kind of long, but it had some beautiful sentences with semicolons. It had a good subject line. It had attachments. It had numbered lists, everything that Tripp wants in an email. I was so excited. But naturally, I sent it to David for review and said, hey, thinking about sending this to the council. What do you think? And he said, slow down. All the guidance and instruction that you want to give them, and the things that you want to suggest that they're doing, they're already thinking of these things. Don't just do and get in their way, but sit back and let them be their own leaders. Let this ministry happen organically. And so I was bummed because it was a great email, but I let it go. And I slowly started to learn the beauty of patience. In the second half of that verse about the end being better than the beginning, the preacher wrote that patience is better than pride. And I think that at the beginning, we feel lots of pride. It was me trying to prove that I was good enough to be the Auburn Wesley president. And at the end, I see patience. At the end, I see that sitting back and letting this happen is what it was really all about. It was about me acknowledging that God was working through all these people, no matter how good or how many my emails were or were not. So I would continue to go along, learning to slow down, learning to acknowledge the goodness, and learning to see that it wasn't all about all the plans that I could make and making things happen the way that I wanted, but it was rather about this recognition that I now feel as the chapter closes, about how perfect things already were, how good things already were. I think that in my mind, there are these ideas of how things are supposed to be, and when I can calm my heart down and calm my mind down and see through the chaos to the beauty of God's creation, I can see that he was already at work all along, and things were already beautiful and good. Things were already reflecting God's glory, and I didn't have to make a how-to sheet for every leadership position. I didn't have to have 6 meetings a week to make this place good and beautiful. So I think that in the beginning, we have lots of planning and anticipation about how we want things to go. And that's why the beginning is appealing for us, because in the beginning of leadership, you get to have a lot of pride and excitement, and you get to set goals and do. But at the end, you see the beauty of patience. And I see that, no, of course, I didn't check off all the list items I wanted to do. And of course, things weren't perfect. I missed a T&D because this dude at Men's Warehouse was taking too long. And I forgot to send out so many emails, and things were not perfect, but yet God was glorified, and people were brought to know Christ even when things weren't perfect. But then again, on this, why were the former days not better than these? Why was it not better a year ago when I had more focus and when I was more ambitious? Why was it not better a year ago when family and friends was in person and we could take communion more easily? And why was it not better in 2015 when all those leaders from Wesley were so smart and so good when I got here? My best friend and the person who preceded me in this job, Liz Stewart, when she left at the end of last year, she gave this reflection. As she left her last worship, she said, "This place is not the same place that it was when I got here." And so I asked myself all year, am I ever going to have a moment like that? Am I ever, going to have this moment where I just have an emotional understanding of this place has changed? And I think, ironically, I was planning for that moment. I was planning to get really emotional at family and friends or something, or I was planning to have a big spiritual moment at the finals week communion service. But the unusual circumstance of coronavirus forced me to be a lot more honest with my reflections on how this year has gone. I couldn't fabricate some emotion out of hearing a bunch of people sing in the same room. Instead, I just had to spend time in myself, learning this true wisdom. I don't think I could have been there been at this level of understanding with these texts without this curveball that threw us all off kilter and has caused us to innovate and to rethink. And what that has shown me is that the former days were no more beautiful than the present days are. And that without these present days, without the time that has gone on since I got here, since this place was what it was in 2015, and since I was the little freshman that I was in 2015, since that time, God has been so hard at work on me and on the people around me and on Wesley as a community, even though so many people are different now and there are so many different faces around here. Without these present days, we couldn't see the glory of all the work that God has done. So far be it for me to say at the end, this isn't as exciting as the beginning, or to have pride instead of blessing the patience that God has given me. And far be it from me to say of the present days that they're any less beautiful because they're different. By God's grace, I think I'm slowly starting to understand truly that the end of a thing is better than its beginning. Because in this end, I can see what God has been doing all the time, and I can see the beauty of the way that God wanted things to go, instead of being consumed with excitement about my own personal ambitions and goals and trying to make things perfect in my own sense. And I can say that I shouldn't ask why the former days were better, because the present days and time as a whole are what give God the glory for all the things that God has done. So while I do enjoy the beginning of my time as the president, and while I do enjoy thinking back on the excitement of coming into this new campus ministry in the August of 2015, I can also smile on today, smile on the lesson of humility that I've learned from sitting back and watching and having patience. I can smile on the days of yellow chicken at TND 5 years ago and the days of having worship in the big room, but I can also smile on the days of Fall Festival and the days of taking our shoes off before worship at AUMC to acknowledge that it's a holy ground and a holy space. I can smile on the days of Kate bringing her own family recipes to Thursday night dinner. I can smile on having real plates at prayer breakfast. I can smile on social distance food pantry and hot breakfasts before Super Mission Saturday. And so, yeah, I liked the beginning a lot more. It was a lot more exciting. Well, maybe not more, but it was exciting and unknown. And the end is sad because there's so many people I won't see again for a long time. And I had to let go, and I had to embrace the things that never happened and the things that are over now. But I know, friends, that it's not about what we planned. Heck, I had recorded myself giving this sermon. And as we were letting you guys in from the waiting room, I was trying to send it over to Matthew so that he could share it in case I had technical difficulties. But alas, here we are improvising and me just trying to give this thing live from my dorm room or my virtual beach background. I can't plan myself into God's glory, but God's glory and God's work are there nonetheless. In the end of a thing, he is showing me that things have always been just as he planned, and that they've been just as carefully glorifying to him as I would have wanted them to be. And in these present days, he is showing me that without all this time and all this perspective, I couldn't acknowledge just how great God's work is. So I pray that for the students, whether you're leaving or not, for the friends and family and alumni, for you parents who have graciously sent us your kids to be my friends and our leaders, I pray that you would never take for granted the vitality of this awesome fellowship, one of the largest Wesleys in the country, by the way, or the opportunity that we have to be student leaders. And boy, I could give 3 more sermons on the things that I've learned from that opportunity. I hope that we'll never take this for granted, that we will never ditch the endings in favor of the exciting beginnings. And I hope that we will never idolize the past and the former days just because they were easier. I hope that we will always embrace the endings as the opportunity to see God's perfect plans and glory. And I hope we'll always embrace the present days as the signs of the work God has been doing all along. So may it be so for us in this time. Amen. I thank you for the opportunity to share. One of the exciting things that we have been able to do together since Zoom World has been find creative ways to be together even though we're apart. And so I would invite you to be careful about this so we don't get too much feedback, but we have invited each other to pray the Lord's Prayer together and unmute ourselves and just embrace the cacophony that is 100 people trying to say a prayer together at the same time. So I invite you to take a moment, turn your volume down if you want to, unmute yourself, and let us pray that holy prayer that Jesus taught his disciples. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Daily bread.
Forgive us.
Forgive us our trespasses. We forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation. Deliver us from evil. For yours is the glory,
Forever.
and thank you for joining me in that adventure. Now mute yourself. Just kidding. Thank you for being with us again. As we come to the conclusion of this celebration, we have a wonderful Wesley Benediction. It's special to all of us. And as we had a service to celebrate our senior class this past Sunday, Kaylee Beth Smith and some of us put together a video of us singing different lines of the benediction. So I would invite you to keep yourself on mute this time if you choose to sing, but if you know these words, I invite you to sing along as we join in our benediction. And may we go forth from here in peace.
Now to him who is able to keep you is able to keep you from stumbling and to make you stand in the presence of His glory. Thanks with great joy to the only God our Savior, and to Jesus Christ our Lord, be the glory, majesty, dominion, and power for all time, now and forever. Amen, amen. Amen, amen. Amen, amen. Amen and amen and amen. And that's to Him who is able to keep you, who is able to keep you from stumbling and to make you stand in the presence of His glory. Thanks with great joy to the only God our Savior, and to Jesus Christ our Lord, be the glory, majesty, dominion, and power for all time, now and forever. Amen, amen. Amen, amen. Amen, amen. Amen and amen and amen. Cool.
Your mentorship. Thank you to the council for supporting me and making this place happen. Thank you for the teams that surrounded us for just keeping the wheels turning. Thanks to the interns for being with me in this strange journey of being student and staff. And thank you to you, the friends and the family who send us these wonderful people with whom to experience the glory of God. May you go forth from this place in peace and with the excitement that comes of celebrating the present day, even in the midst of strange circumstance. Go in peace. Amen.